Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this little bit of Hebrew as we continue in the book of Jonah, and we're looking at the fourth verse. So, if I could have you look at the left side of the screen, we're looking from the JPS version of verse 4, and the English reads, "But the Lord," and you'll see it's all capitalized. So, we want to look at that later in the Hebrew hurled a great wind into the sea. Again, kind of interesting way of stating it. We'll look at that. And there was a mighty tempest in the sea, so that the ship was likely to be broken. If we go over to the left side of that verse here of the book, we have the Hebrew, and it's Va Yud He Vav He, meaning the Tetragrammaton, the sacred name of God. Hetil Ruach Gadolah. So a great ruach, which could be wind or spirit. We'll look at that later too. El Hayam Vayehi Sa'ar Gadol and Bayom Veha Anoyiyah and then Hashiva Lehishaver. So that's kind of how the Hebrew would sound. So as we take a look at this, we looking now at the Bible Hub um, linear version of it. And so we see that this is the Yud He Vav He acting, which is interesting because it's normally only used when God's merciful benevolence is being exercised. If he was angry, trying to offer justice or bring retribution, it would normally use the Elohim. And so I find here we again gain insight into the heart of what God is doing here, that he's not pouring out his wrath upon Jonah, but this is his mercy reaching for Jonah. And just the type of words that are used here, that he hurled a wind. So let's take a look at this word hurl, and it comes from just to toss, tossing a spear. So it gives the indication that God was very much personally um, taking heart of what was being done here, that he's deeply engaged in what was happening. It wasn't just that he spoke it into existence, he was actually actively putting himself as a part of this. And then it uses the word ruach, which again, in the Hebrew, the word for ruach could be spirit, it could be in wind. It's used interchangeably. It's up to the reader to decide what is happening here. And so knowing that, God is spirit, he's again using the word ruach, a great ruach, to intervene here. And then El Hayam toward the sea, and Vayahi, and there was, and then it uses the word Sa'ar Gadol, a mighty tempest. So let's take a look at this word for tempest. And the first translation we get here is that it is a hurricane. So this wasn't just a little bit of a windstorm coming up here. This was a hurricane type storm that's hitting this boat that Jonah is in with the sailors. And we're going to see here as we go on that there were no one else in the boat other than Jonah and the sailors. And so the rest of the verbiage of this is very interesting, that the ship was thinking to be broken apart. And here's where the Jewish commentators really go into this and say, okay, why are they assigning um, thought process to an inanimate object, a non-living object? Why was the ship thinking to be broken apart? And from that launching point, we'll just take a look at the JPS commentary here. And this is item for verse number 4. They translate it as was like to be broken, or literally, it was thought it would be broken in pieces. It's a vivid phrase that represents the ship as an animate being, agitated and full of fear. So, with that, we'll take a look at the expanded commentary on the right side of the screen that we've been sharing a lot of. And he brings up as to, why does God send a mighty wind? Why couldn't God have shut down the wind so that the ship would be calm and not being able to move? And, just evaluates that side of it. And then it continues to go on and say, in as it summarizes this part, that in the Jonah story, God does not prevent Jonah from boarding the ship, which he could have done. He doesn't prevent the ship from leaving the harbor. He doesn't pluck Jonah from the ship, but he sends the wind, or maybe his spirit, if you want to look at it that way, and then allows the events to unfold. And he's not trying to control Jonah like a puppet. He provides an opportunity for Jonah to grow, to mature, to learn to see himself as part of something larger. God wants to see Jonah's response to the storm, and that puts the storm that puts him and the sailors at risk. God wants to see if Jonah can learn to care about others. Just a beautiful analogy, a beautiful story here as we look at this verse and see what Jonah is going through. And this leaves us so much food for thought, so many ways to take and internalize this as to what God's heart is all about. His heart is about reaching people, people that we may not think are worth reaching. We may not say that out loud, but sometimes we think it. Sometimes we treat people in such a way that it is just very uncaring. And here, this story of Jonah at least reflects for me to learn to care for people, because all people are created in God's image and God's likeness. And here, this story is just emphasizing this in such a beautiful, beautiful way. So that's all I wanted to share for today. Thank you for listening. Please share this story with anybody else who you think might benefit from it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel in the YouTube, there's a little button you can do that, and then you'll be notified immediately when I post it. Otherwise, thank you so much. God bless you until we meet again. Bye bye.